Thank you, Reverend Breyer. The real truth is that Reverend Breyer actually married me and my wife. And that's the most important thing of all. I think my wife might hold that against her at this point, but I thank her. Silly jokes aside, this is really a historic election to have this seat open. It's a tremendous opportunity, you know, for this community to choose someone to do battle in Washington. We all know, you know, how important it is, the debate in Washington, the frustrations we all feel about what's going on in Washington, and the enormous challenges that our nation and this community faces. I'll just quickly run through the format of the debate tonight. Elinor and I will be your moderators, asking questions, but we'll start out first. We'll give each candidate a 2-minute opening statement. They can speak about it, they can introduce themselves and describe anything they'd like for that 2-minute statement. Then each of us will ask them questions on different issues. They will have 2 minutes to answer each of our questions. And we've got then a time period for them to rebut each other. We hope they'll mix it up a bit tonight. They're seated very closely to each other, so we hope it doesn't get physical. And then we'll give them a 2-minute closing statement. And we hope to finish this evening by right around 8 o'clock tonight. So again, thank you all again. This is such an important and vital race and such an important opportunity, I think, for this community. I'll just start out by sort of moving down the row here and asking each candidate to give a 2-minute opening statement. We'll start here closest to me with Mr. Powell. A 2-minute opening statement, please.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's great to be here. Good evening to all of the clergy here present, brothers and sisters. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. Hopefully to learn from each other how we can move forward as a district, because it's not just a community, it's a set of communities. I'm the son and grandson of Baptist preachers. Please don't hold that against me. But the story of this congressional district, many of you know, but for those of you who don't, and even for those of you who do know, just to go back a little back in time, it was 1944. And my dad, I'm proud to say, created this seat so that we could have a congressman. And he became the first black congressman, not only in New York, but throughout the Northeast of the United States. We know the story. He led us admirably, not just as a member of Congress and pastor of the Abyssinian Baptist Church, but as a civil rights leader. And so he was succeeded in 1970 by Charles B. Rangel, who for the last 46 years has also represented us as the district has grown in terms of communities and population. Those 72 years of extraordinary history are about to change. In just 2 months, on June 28th, you will participate in selecting who will succeed those two people who have led us for so many years. I submit to you that we need someone with the experience, with the energy, with the commitment to best represent all of us in the United States Congress in using that leadership that has been, progressive leadership that's been provided before. I have served and I have worked with our young people and served our young people, bringing computer labs to every public school building that I represented. I've worked with our seniors when I passed this CRE bill, senior citizen rent increase exception up in Albany. I've worked with all of the young men and women that unfortunately have been victimized in the vicious cycle of drugs and crime, and we repealed the Rockefeller drug laws, which were literally putting a chokehold on the lives of many young men and women for very little, and they were doing more time than rapists and killers and so on and so forth. So, but I dare say this election is not about the past, it's about the future. And so I want to work with you in fighting to improve the lives of those ahead of us. Thank you. I didn't know if that was 30 seconds or if that was...
No, that was you were close to 2 minutes. So we have a bell here that Reverend Breyer is going to hit.
Thank you.
She'll get louder and louder. Watch out.
We had a bell.
Church bell. So yeah, don't...
We had a bell at the last technology debate. Thank you.
Do not defy the church bell. It's very important. Sorry. So yes, 2 minutes each. So Mr. Gallagher, your opening statement, please.
Hello, I'm Mike Gallagher, and I'm a stay-at-home dad from Washington Heights with 4 kids. Before that, I was a technical analyst, a systems manager, and a network manager in publishing and advertising. Now, many of you are looking at me, asking yourself, why is this guy here? And I get that, and I will tell you what I told my kids, which is that politicians in Albany and Washington are not representing us. It's as simple as that. We have a system that favors the wealthy and connected, and our community's politicians are captive to that system. I do know that, I live here, I know the issues we face: housing, jobs, healthcare, education, public safety. I've been to numerous events like this in recent months, and at every one, candidates have promised that they will rescue New York City public housing with federal money, and I'm here to tell you that's not gonna happen. DC gives us less money, and has for decades. The real story of public housing in New York is the abandonment of the city and state. Last week, Shola Olateye, the head of the New York City Public Housing Authority, spoke before the City Council, and she told them this: while federal operational support has dwindled, state and city operating subsidies have completely disappeared. If you doubt me, ask the legislators here. We're getting forced out of our homes. Did you vote for that? Are you going to vote for that again? Education is an investment in our future. It's the most important investment we can make. I stayed at home with my kids to some degree to help on this level on my own. Why aren't public schools helping our kids keep up? Providing them with tools for the 21st century. The tech industry is where the jobs are. We need them and us to be skilled enough to get them. We don't need to teach to the test in public schools. We need to teach to the jobs. We also need police to respect and reflect our community. Remember that stop and frisk started as a response to seniors who were kind of fed up with getting their purses snatched and their buildings destroyed. But stop and frisk was hijacked by aggressive police who use it to disrespect, abuse, and take lives that matter. I've waited for things to get better, and they haven't. And I'm not waiting any longer, I'm running to make things happen. And on that, I ask for your vote on June 28th.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Cook, your 2-minute opening statement, please.
To your excellencies, and to Reverend clergy, and to all of our distinguished moderators, and to my brothers and sisters, shalom, assalamu alaikum, the peace of the Lord be with you. I want to thank you for the invitation, and we're in a holy place, and this is not a foreign place for me as a faith leader who's grown up here in the village of Harlem. I also celebrate with the Franciscan sisters who celebrate their 100th anniversary also in this village of Harlem. I stand on the shoulders of some dynamic women: Shirley Chisholm, the first African-American woman in Congress, Barbara Jordan, who I call the legendary lioness, and if you elect me, I will be the bomb from the Bronx in Harlem. I am Suzan Johnson Cook. I'm an ambassador for a diplomat for the United States of America. I come also standing on the shoulders of my late parents, Dorothy C. and Wilbur T. Johnson. My mother taught at PS 194 for 22 years. My father was a New York City motorman, so I've been born, bred, and buttered here in the village of Harlem. It was in the churches, Abyssinian, Rendell Memorial, this church, and also Union Baptist Church, that we learned about the freedom movement, and where we watched the historic I Have a Dream. So I have a dream that the village of Harlem and District 13 can get on the map once again, and that we can deliver for our people. I have a dream that brown and black lives really do matter. I have a dream that incarceration won't be disproportionate, and that those who re-enter our communities will be given a quality of life. If they've served the time, then they need to have a quality of life. I want you to think about BP and AP, before the primary and after the primary. After the primary, you want somebody in Washington who knows how to navigate, who does not have to look for where the bathrooms are. My position as ambassador was created by Congress, so I've worked with Congress, had 2 Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearings. I know how Washington works. So I want you to think of me AP, after the primary. I want you to see me walking up Capitol Hill steps. I know from Washington Heights to Washington, from Harlem to the Hill. I know from Inwood, and I have insight. I know the Bronx, and I am the bomb. So you want someone who can walk in there and represent this district well, and who can deliver to this district. So I am Ambassador Suzan Johnson Cook. The bell's getting ready to ring, and I approve of this message.
Thank you, Ambassador. Assemblyman Wright, please, your 2-minute opening statement.
Yes, good evening. Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here. I'm a very fortunate person. I grew up during a time of civil rights and social justice. I'm the son of 2 public servants. My mother, who's 96 years old, a retired school teacher and principal at PS 197 on 35th Street and PS 161 on 35th in Amsterdam. My father was a lawyer and a judge of the New York State Supreme Court. He had a nickname by the name of Turn 'em Loose Bruce, they called him. I got my public service genes quite naturally. I've been in Albany for the last 23 years, and certainly I've been a part of some of the most groundbreaking pieces of legislation that this city and state has had to offer. I was the #2 name on the bill to eradicate and eliminate the Rockefeller drug laws. It only took us 12 years to do that. I'm the prime author of the bill to create a domestic workers' bill of rights. That's those folks, domestic workers, those folks that work as nannies and caregivers and care for our elderly. For the first time, now they're able to get a day off, sick time, and overtime and vacation pay. I'm the prime author of the bill to create the minimum wage in New York. And if we had done it, signed the bill, the governor signed the bill back in 2009, when I authored that bill, you know what the minimum wage would be today? $15 an hour, which we just passed in the New York State budget. So, but I'm also a fierce, passionate defender of affordable housing. I actually live in the same rent-stabilized apartment that I grew up in. Certainly, my rent is exactly $1,000 a month rent. And if you think I'm gonna tell you my rent, you're crazy. But there's some very, very real issues facing us. We all know that gun violence, education, job creation, health care are very important. But we are being faced, and our children are being faced, with a massive student debt crisis that has to be fixed because college is becoming absolutely prohibitive. The bell is ringing. Reminds me of my time at St. Philip's Church. I'm a lifelong member of St. Philip's Church as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Assemblyman Linares, your 2-minute opening statement, please.
Thank you so much. I want to thank everyone for inviting us, especially the faith-based institutions that organized this event. I am an immigrant, born and raised in the Dominican Republic and landed 51 years ago in the Bronx, worked in a bodega supermarket, drove a taxi 5 years at night to pay my way through college, City College, as a matter of fact. I consider myself a child of the civil rights movement. I landed in Northern Manhattan, Washington Heights, District 6 as a teacher. And since that point, it's been nonstop. I've been by the community, mobilizing, organizing. I got elected to the school board and faced the most overcrowded crisis in terms of education in the city. We were able to mobilize parents and build schools. I landed as the first Dominican elected in the United States of America as a member of the New York City Council in '91, only to face one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the city. And Kiko Garcia was killed, and there were riots, disturbances, and had to work hard and aggressively, especially with the faith-based institution, but all type of institution and leaders, to turn that community around and make it one of the safest now. I was Commissioner of Immigrant Affairs, representing all 3 million immigrants, as I'm an immigrant myself, proud of the language access policy that we now have in the city of New York. And the green cards that you see when I landed recently, the State Assembly, mobilized that industry, which I worked in the 70s, to legalize it, and it was a lot of work. But I think the challenge we face now is really threatening all of our neighborhoods. We're being displaced. I think the experience that I have in bringing people together and mobilizing communities is what we need in Washington now in order for us to get the attention we need. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Assemblyman. And lastly, and not least, your 2-minute opening statement, please, Mr. Williams. Thank you.
Good evening and thank you. The faith community and the church have always been in the forefront of progressive change in America. From the civil rights movement to the movements that took place around the Poor People's Campaign, and also the change that have pushed us towards to do something about capital punishment. I think we all can agree that Jesus Christ was an individual who dealt with people who were shut out, those who other people turned their backs on in society. And we have too many people in this congressional district and in New York City who fit that category. More than 30% of the people who live in this congressional district live at or below the poverty level and have been living that way for decades. You talk about Central Harlem and rents. Rents have increased more than 90% in this congressional district in a 10-year period. And so for people to come up here and tell you they've done something on housing, that is an impossibility. People who've been in this community for 30 years are being pushed out. Yes. And people need to understand that there are people you should hold accountable for that. Every single day in New York City, our kids are not getting a quality education. We have some of the most segregated schools in America right here. Governor Cuomo put out a report in 2015 that showed failing schools all across the state of New York. Many of those failing schools, once again, are right here in our own backyard. And we know that's true. We know for a fact we have huge healthcare disparities in our community, particularly among seniors, African Americans, and Latinos. And that should not be the case. Government is supposed to improve people's lives. And right now, that is not happening. I worked on public policy for more than 25 years for President Clinton and President Obama. I have people who have endorsed me in Washington, D.C., from the former Senate Majority Leader Tom Daschle to Bill Richardson, who was head of the Hispanic Caucus for more than 14 years. Pete Rouse, who was Chief of Staff at the White House and for President Obama on Capitol Hill, has endorsed me. I have the knowledge and the background to go to Washington, D.C. and help to change this community for the betterment of everyone who lives here. I have no desire to play racial politics, ethnic politics, or regional politics. I want to do what's best for everyone, and I ask for your support. Thank you.